Press this. Hello, you are listening to the Guiricast on Sports Direct Radio, and for the first time, a live broadcast on YouTube and Twitter as well. I'm Nick Bell, your host for this evening, because the wonderful Matt Harrison is away gallivanting on his travels across Spain once again. But I'm delighted to say I am joined by the one and only, the forever constant, Mr. Guiricast, Chris Marquez. How are you, Chris?
I'm very well, Nick. What a great intro.
Oh, we've got to try our best this week. We're the only two holding down the fort.
Yeah. So we're live. People can see us. So for the first time ever, I record with clothes on.
That is true, to be fair. I have to spend every week staring at Chris in his full glory. I don't know if it's a Dutch or a Spanish thing, but, you know, it's always interesting.
Chris Marquez thing.
It's just a Chris Marquez thing.
And it's huge.
I like it, to be fair. Sometimes when you hear the distraction in our voices from myself, Alex, and Matt, it's because you are naked. But great start. We're already on to Chris being naked as part of this podcast, picking up after last week, which I only managed to listen to the podcast from last week this weekend, just before the Eibar game. And the vibrator talk really took me by left field, it must be said.
Well, I have some questions about it.
Go on, shoot away.
I don't listen back to anything we record because I already know what we're saying, and you know, you could listen to it to get better or, you know, to get the content better, but I just don't care. I know what happened already. So, but I started thinking, I thought maybe I should give it a listen back, and then I thought no. But then I started thinking about the vibrator thing again, and that gave me a question. Why are vibrators still working on batteries?
That is a very good question, but I think it's maybe one because we should put to the audience.
Everything goes with an adapter now, right? Like your phone. Like maybe. Every stupid little thing you buy, you get a connector with it to plug it in. Funny, plug it in.
Maybe they do, to be honest, Chris. It's not something I'm well versed in, but it did catch me off guard. But, you know, a great analogy nonetheless, and look forward to more of them this week as well. So as we've alluded to, Matt's not here, but Alex Ashmore also isn't here this week because they are both colluding together, Chris, down in Cartegena ahead of tomorrow's football game. Are you as jealous as I am that they are doing this little bromance, being away together, going to Malaga away matches as much as I am?
Well, I think you've never met Alex Ashmore.
I have met Alex Ashmore.
Really?
Once. At the Valladolid game.
Oh, shit. So you all know each other already. I'm the only missing. Oh, it's going to be fun then in 2 weeks when we go to the wards.
Yeah, that's going to be the one, isn't it? Where we're all meeting up at for a drink at is it Rinco de Rafa or something like that? Did you say?
Yes, that we get to spend 2 nights together.
Yes, exactly. And we'll be at the Football Content Awards on the 16th of November, which is, like you say, Chris, only 2 weeks away tonight.
Are you nervous?
A little bit. I think we are going to be up against some big hitters, some well-followed people.
Yes.
But I must say, after looking back at all the comments, all the tweets, all the quotes, all the votes, I think we might be in with a chance.
We have a chance.
I don't want to put my scarf on it just yet, but I don't think we'll be far away.
Do you have a suit?
No. I'm too fat for suits, but I'll dress up stylish.
I don't own a suit either.
No,
Last year, I was the only person not wearing a suit.
Not wearing a suit?
Yes.
Oh, God. Yeah, but we're different.
Yes, we're different.
We're cooler than them. So, and, heaven, God bless the man that can make Alex Ashmore a suit. Imagine trying to
Yes.
stitch together 6'9" pants. It just wouldn't be the one, would it? So
You could use curtains for it.
yeah, probably those really long drapes, maybe just wrap them around.
But like last year, it was now I'm not the only one not wearing a suit.
Yeah, we don't need to wear suits as long as
But
we
last
dress.
year, I was the only one not wearing a suit. Then you feel different. And I already felt a bit different because I didn't know anyone there. That's one thing.
Well, that's not going
I
to be
was
the
the
case.
only Dutch guy, the only foreigner. The rest, everyone was English or from the UK. So I felt different.
I can pretend to be Spanish if you really want to.
Yes.
My Spanish is coming on leaps and bounds now. To the extent, I think I texted you before saying that when I was in Spain recently and I was using my Spanish to, order things and ask for things and speak to people, they actually speak Spanish back to me, where they used to speak back to me in English, even though I spoke to them in Spanish first. So I see that as an improvement. But then the issue I have with that is that when they speak back to me in Spanish, I ain't got a clue what they're saying. So
Are I making promotion now for something?
Well, you might be there. Certainly, we'll be having a few of those in Manchester in a couple of weeks' time.
If I do this.
Anyway, we get off on a tangent here.
Yes.
We have news. We have news this week, don't we, Chris?
We have a lot of news. Let's dive into it.
Definitely. So starting with, you mentioned here on our list, Grada Animación Fondo Sur. Told you my Spanish was improving.
The Grada de Animación Fondo Sur had a talk on Tuesday with the players and the staff, telling them basically that they're fully behind the team and that they believe that we can get out of this situation. And I think it's fine. And probably if we would have this talk with the players, because we're both like very small guys who could easily live in Legoland, the team, it won't do much to the team. But when your ultras do it, maybe it has a different, how do you call it? A different sense, no?
Yeah, I get
you. So yes, that's good news, I think.
Yeah, I think when you are as vocal as the Fondo Sur, then, I think having their accreditation or their backing or their support or anything for Pepe Mel really and the players is a boost, because I think that's maybe been something of a concern to many people in the club recently, is that the fan backlash is sort of like bubbling up at the minute. I think you said it last week, Chris, on the podcast, that there are people now really starting to vote with their feet with the club because they are so unhappy. But to get this kind of backing for the team and for the new manager, I think that's really, really important as well. But speaking of the team, and speaking of Eibar coming up a little bit later, we saw a little bit of transfer news possibly, Chris. A former man, a man who didn't actually get to play in front of a crowd at La Rosaleda as well, let's not forget. Yanis Ramani.
Yes, according to Radio Marca, Manolo Gaspar has started talks with him, just to know his wishes, what he wants, where he sees himself, his future. So that started. So we are a little bit closer to a possible returning of Yanis Ramani. He doesn't really count for Eibar. He has only played 125 minutes and only started once this season so far for Eibar. So I think Eibar wants to get rid of him. Malaga can't really sign him. It could only happen if it was if it would be a loan deal.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be hopeful. I think it could be good news.
Well, it'd be a good fit. I know he spoke last year about, or not last year, earlier this year even, when he came back to La Rosaleda in that 2-0 or 3-0 win for Eibar in the season just past. And he said he had, a massive affiliation to the fans, a love for the club. I think he regretted, like I said before, he didn't get to actually play in front of the crowd that much. So, I think he'd be definitely open for it and up to it. And I don't know about you, Chris, but for me, he'd improve us massively because he's a game changer.
You don't know how the player is going to be when he comes, how it's going to be with him because he didn't play much. But if I compare, if he is in the same form he was the last time he played for Malaga, he can definitely be important for the team.
Yes, definitely. And important players are what we need to get them into a better mind space. And a lovely bridge there, Chris, to the next piece of news, because you brought this to my attention today. Malaga now has a psychologist going by the name of Patricia Ramirez.
Yes.
She's new in the first team. Is she a striker or a centre back?
I think she's a midfielder. I think it's the best signing we have had this season, to be honest. Because I really think it could be a life changer.
Do you genuinely believe that there is a mental block on this team? Yeah. Do you think there's a mental block on this squad at the minute?
Je hebt op zijn minst 25.
Siri started talking. Yeah, that's my Siri. I truly believe that on every work floor, or everyone who is facing mental difficulties, whether it's in work or personal, that a psychologist is a very good thing.
Absolutely. I agree with you myself. And I'm not afraid to admit that I went to see a psychologist early this year, helped me out with a few things, gave me tools to cope. And I imagine when you're in this squad and you're under this much pressure at the minute, just being able to speak to somebody would be a massive advantage, wouldn't it? So
I think it also became a mental thing now with the team.
It does feel like they are in a rut, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and she's worked with Pepe Mel before, so obviously this is something he's done at his previous clubs. You know, mainly Real Betis is where they first worked together. But
yes,
it's quite an important factor as well that he brings that into the team, maybe a different dimension or a different way of thinking.
Yes, definitely. And it surprised me that Malaga didn't have a psychologist actually. Because the job as a footballer seems fun and playing, and maybe you don't work so many hours, but being in front of the public, fans, and everything, and when it comes to competition, because that's what it is.
Yeah,
I think it's actually really normal to have a psychologist on your team.
Well, I always, don't get me wrong, I'm not in the best physical shape and mental shape neither, but a lot of people will focus on, especially in sport and certainly in football, everything's about physical health, everything's about being at your peak physique and your highest levels of fitness, but having a clear mind and a like you say, psychologically being fit is just as important in my opinion. And like you say, it does look at the minute as if there is a block in a lot of these players who, it's not allowing them to perform to their highest potential. It's like they've got a monkey on their back, and hopefully Patricia can come in and really work with them and mold them into a new way. So good news all around on that front. And speaking of health, another wonderful bridge that's happening here. These just seem to be writing themselves, Chris. Physical health. We have got a full professional squad back together with only a couple of long-term absentees now, Chris. So basically, we've got a full roster to pick from tomorrow.
Yes, it's only youth players on the injury bench. Victor Olmo and Musa, and they both are not with the don't have official contracts, to say it like that.
Which is a shame all the same, because I quite liked Musa when he played earlier this year. Obviously, he made a brief appearance, and Olmo, we've seen plenty of him. But the fact that your senior squad is fully fit, I can't say it's something we've managed to say this season so far. I think we've always had somebody out injured or somebody on the treatment table, haven't we?
Yes, we never had the full squad together. We have a first comment, and that's a fun one. It's J and G.
Yeah.
J and G, and he says Paul, and that's a Sport Direct Radio thing. because there the first comment gets the pole position.
I did wonder that, and I was thinking to myself, like, is
Ole.
Paul Spanish for first? But then I was like, no, that can't
Pole.
be
Yes,
right.
of course it is. Pole
Well,
position it is.
and that's what we want. If you are watching this on YouTube or Twitter, especially on Twitter, because you can't comment on Twitter. But if you want to get involved and come over to YouTube and drop us some comments, this is the first live recording of the Guiricast podcast ever, dare I say. So it'd be good to get people involved because we've only got me and you, Chris, this week. So,
Yes.
the more the merrier. Luis Munoz, he is back in the squad as well. So is he over his sprained ankle now?
Yes, he is. He is totally available tomorrow.
Perfect. I think he's been a play that we've definitely missed in that last game against Oviedo. I don't know about you, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but we've spoken a lot about balancing that midfield, and I think a midfield with him in it is so much more balanced than even when you've got, Ndaye in there, Ramon,
But then we
Gennaro.
miss creativity, right? You have to agree
100%.
with me. We have a problem in creating opportunities. Playing with Luis Munoz and Ndiaye, who are both very defensive midfielders, doesn't solve our problem really.
No, this was going to be something I was going to mention to you later in terms of, Ndaye has obviously played very, very well since he's come in. But something I noted today when I was watching back the highlights and when I was listening to what everybody says, he's got a strong game, but it's a game that he does well, which is being defensive. I think he
Yes.
can play a bit more advanced. He certainly tested the goalkeeper a couple of chances against Eibar, which we'll come on to later. But does he give you the same kind of vision and the same kind of creativity that Luis Munoz does? And I think as well, Munoz needs players that are going to run around him too, like Ramon, like Fabas. So it's going to be an interesting one for Pepe Mel tomorrow to see who he goes with against Cartegena. Finally, Chris, just with the news so we can wrap it up and get on to that review. Ascasi says so far that there hasn't really been a team. I haven't seen or heard this just yet, but can you explain a bit more about it for us?
He spoke in TWO, Spanish TV station, where he said that there hasn't really been a team, and not so much in the dressing room, because there is a team, there's good vibes and everything, but it's missing like a connection on the pitch or something like that.
Yeah, do you agree with that? I don't think I do.
Me neither. I think what is missing is wingers, and what I do think it's that we don't have a balanced team where we sign names instead of players that can play in a certain form or in a certain formation.
Yeah, I think that kind of hits the nail on the head for me. I think there is a team there, and to be fair, it seems as if the dynamic of it is a lot better than it was last season because you've got so many senior heads in that squad. They all kind of are similar age, probably have similar interests, and they probably get on very, very well. I think you're right. It is the balance of the team that's the issue of the issue at the moment. Maybe not having that one true star, dare I say, because we've got a lot of good players. Your Castros,
we have a star, but we don't have players who are who can reach to them, because there's no. I think that a sports director should have a vision behind it, right? Mm-hmm. Like should be capable of. I can't do it. Of okay, if I sign this player, he will give me this.
Yeah,
that really works with this player who does this. And I think that Malaga just looked at positions and names and thought, oh, Ruben Castro sounds nice. Let's sign him. Oh, Fabas is a big name. Let's sign him as well. He did well. Let's sign him. The fans love him. Oh, I think the fans would love Bustinza. Oh, Ramalho is a good player. Let's sign him in. That's the way I think Malaga has signed not only this season, but the 2 previous seasons as well. I think there was the same problem last season.
So you end up there with like a bucket of parts that don't really do anything. Because I was thinking something similar, and incidentally, on my way back from Spain last week, I was watching a film called The Damned United. Have you ever watched The Damned United?
No.
I'll give you the challenge. If you go on Amazon Prime, it's like €2 to rent it. It's
I wish I
about
had
Brian
€2.
Clough. Say again?
I wish I had €2.
You've got €2.
Joking.
Fine. But there's a bit where Peter Taylor talks about, or the guy who's playing Peter Taylor, Timothy Spall. He says about the skewer, the spine, and I kind of look at Malaga and I go, you know what? I could not tell you who the spine of that team is, or who in that squad would be a good part of it. It's solid enough. Manolo Reyla, for example, just doesn't fill me with confidence, and again, we'll come back onto him a little bit later. But yeah, it's certainly something. I think you're right, Chris. It's a box of cats at the minute, really, with some of these players. We have got a comment as well from Kay Quinn, who has messaged in Twitter. He said, "Who should sign the players, the manager or the sporting director?"
Hi, Kevin. I think both. I think it should be a combination of both. But then a sports director who has that knows what he's doing. It's okay if the sports director does it, but it should be both, because I think the manager chooses the way he plays with the team, like the formation and things. So it should be a combination, if I think. But then you also need a sports director who can find those players for you, who can filter the players you need, is my guess, to be honest.
I probably agree with that. I think the days of the manager being the person who's responsible for signing players is gone. I think sporting directors do help because they're able to. Football's becoming such a business, so to speak, or is a business, has been for many years, that now you look at clubs the way they're doing business and they look at it as like a conveyor belt. Who can we bring in, knowing the fact that we'll bring them in and we'll sell them on for a lot later, or who's going to add to this part of the team here, or who's going to bring a dynamic to the style of play that we have. And you look at teams like Man City and Liverpool, and don't get me wrong, these are obviously hyper super clubs.
Another thing, because I'm also reading the comments. Kevin says that Manolo picked the managers and let them choose the players. Well, that's certainly not how it's gone, because Manolo said in press conference that he's fully responsible for the squad. And we know, it's not a secret, that Manolo only works with one agency.
Yeah. I was going to say,
so Malaga signs every player just from one agency.
I can see where the thought that, especially with Guede this summer, that the manager was kind of like maybe driving it from the back, because the players that they bought in was built for a certain formation, weren't we? That's why we haven't got any wingers at the minute. That's why we've got an abundance of centre backs and defensive players, because for my 2 pence worth, Guede was always going to try and play wing backs and maybe a 3 at the back. So I can see where that thought process comes from. But I think from what Manolo Gaspar has said, look, these are my players. These are people I've signed. And dare I say, I don't think, someone like Ruben Castro, for example, would have been a player that Guede would have chosen. I think he would have looked for somebody maybe a lot more physical in that kind of part where you've got to be putting in so many crosses. He's not the kind of player. A Fran Sol type of player might have been more that ilk. Whereas Castro, I'm not too sure.
Ruben Castro is not a player you have to put crosses to.
No, exactly. It should be something that comes through the middle. And, watching the highlights back before, some of the opportunities they get, you give him 2 yards of space and he can take an opportunity. And that's what we need to really strengthen around.
And then I come back to what I say every week. I wrote an opinion this week about Manolo Gaspar. Did you read it? Are you reading it now?
I did, yeah. No, I just remembered I can put quotes up on the screen, so I'm just like, playing. So that's contrary to what the administrator said. Feel Manolo is taking the bullet, which is a very good point, actually. Do you reckon that's the case?
I definitely don't think Manolo's taken the bullet because last season we only had players from Promo Sports. This season we only have players from Promo Sports. Last season we had a team that didn't work. This season we had a team that didn't work. I don't see Manolo. I see Manolo Gaspar as a great Malagista with a big Malaga heart. But is that what you need? I don't think so. I don't think that's enough. I prefer somebody who's good in his job and know what he does, rather than somebody who is just there on the position because he's a club legend or close to
Or
a
an
legend.
ex-player. Yeah, definitely. Well,
Because it won't help. It's not helping at all. Besides, the other thing I don't understand, you have like a big market. You have the English league. You can't sign any players from the English league because let's be real. Maybe second tier, third tier England could be. If there's any talents, for me they're welcome. But I think the wages in England are way more higher in football and more money goes around in England that we can't afford. But if you look at Holland, which is a pretty decent league, the Belgium league, don't think you're able to sign somebody from Germany either. Portugal, there are so many countries. Why focus on Spain? That's a thing I don't really understand.
yeah, no, I was looking forward to. I know we were linked to the. Is it Souza from Colo Colo in Chile?
Yes.
And I know he was obviously a player that Guede knew quite well. But when I saw that net being cast that far, I thought, you know what, that's not a bad move, really. I know it's a move a few other clubs, especially Portuguese clubs and Eastern European clubs, make as they look at South America a lot, don't they? So it'd be interesting to see whether Manolo Gaspar can widen his net. But right now, we're going to get on to reviewing the Eibar game from this weekend. So, Chris, the Eibar game, starting 11. Have you got it up in front of you? Can you remember who started, or do you want me to run it through for you?
Run it through for me because I know that Manolo Reina started and that's pretty much it.
There we go then. Yes, so we started with a 4-2-3-1 formation. Manolo Reina in goal, a back four of Juan Fran, Burgos, Escasi, and Javi Jimenez. Alfred Ndei, Ramon, and Villalba started in midfield with Hervias and Gaillard serving Castro up front. So what did you think about that starting 11, Chris? Is that the best we could do, or, considering that we had a lot of players returning to that lineup with Hervias and with Gaillard coming back into the side? Could we have started with better players, or what do you think?
I don't think so. I think these were actually the best. Maybe I would have started with Febas.
That was the weird one, wasn't it? I don't know. I didn't see a report that Febas was injured. I didn't see that he was being left out because he was tired. He was just sort of dropped in favour of Villalba as well, which I thought was quite weird.
But then I think, thinking about it, and I'm a big fan of Febas, but how many does he bring, like in decisive passes and things like that?
Do you know what? With Febas,
doesn't Malaga have to come to a point to try other things then?
Well, I agree on that front, and I think maybe the benefit that Villalba does bring in is he can interchange with the likes of Gaillard and Hervias quite easily because he can play on the wings if he wanted to. But the thing is with Febas, he for his lack of being able to make a forward pass, for example, he does drive the ball. He is creative in that way, and he can get into the box and support Castro as well. But as we said, when you're sticking in the best part of 150 crosses in that game, he's also not a player you want there either. I'm really happy to see Ramon getting an extended run of games as well. I think he's really taking his opportunity at the minute, really performing well, especially with Ndai in that team. And yes, Hervias back into the team as well. Do you think he deserved to be back in after his performance against Lugo?
I think he brings something. Not sure what it is yet, but he definitely brings something.
I think he brings misplaced enthusiasm is probably the way I described it.
Misplaced enthusiasm.
Yeah, he's like, like a kid who's really keen to please everybody.
Yes.
But then it's kind of like, yeah, but you're irritating me a little bit. A bit like me,
Yes.
probably.
But he is a right back, isn't he?
Hervias, no, he was playing on the right wing with.
Yes, but I believe he's not a winger.
Right, sorry, yeah, I think he can play right back. I think
Yes.
he's quite good with both.
But I think he actually is a right back.
You think he played
That's his natural position.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'd give him a go there more than Juan Fran at the minute.
Christ. Yeah, his natural position isn't to be a winger.
Oh,
he can play there, but he isn't.
Being a bit more advanced. Not saying he did badly in this game, and we'll come on to Chumbos and Biznagas later, but, for me, he deserved to be back in the starting 11 after his performance against Lugo. Whether he warranted staying on the pitch for as long as he did, I'm not too sure. So, as far as the way Malaga started, Chris, I was quite happy with the way we started.
I think Malaga started off pretty well, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty decent. I thought, considering that we're up against a team, like Eibar, who, don't get me wrong, aren't, hitting the ground running this year or, setting the world on fire. I thought, all things considered, we were in control for large portions. We were keeping the ball well.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah. I think.
Yes,
I think we did very well, actually.
Yeah, but like I say, we had not too many opportunities to speak of. I think we weren't really playing the ball through to Castro. We couldn't really get the likes of Guiricast on the ball, but we were maintaining possession well. We were winning it back high.
He had the ball. Eibar didn't have the ball. Eibar didn't create anything either.
No,
so
exactly.
I think we were the better ones.
Yeah, and like you say, Chris, they weren't really creating anything apart from in the 21st minute when the world dropped out of our backsides because all of a sudden we are one goal behind. How do we explain this, Chris, to the people who may have not have seen this goal concede? I'm going to describe it as saying that somebody rang a fire alarm and everyone went to the exit because there was absolutely nobody there when Kassim scored for Eibar. It was just an open goal for him, wasn't it?
Well, in defense of Escassi, who loses the ball, the Eibar player comes from his back, and he doesn't really see him. So I think it could be a coaching problem. Although in the interview, Escassi yesterday also totally blamed himself. But you don't have eyes in your back, right?
No.
So I don't know. What he should have done is give the ball a kick outside the stadium onto the beach, so people on the beach could play with the ball.
Well, it's one of the things you're taught from a very young age, especially as a defender. If in doubt, kick it out. Do you know what I mean? So yes. I think this idea that he was able to go backwards and sort of like recycle the ball in the way that he did, when you're technically supposed to be the last man out. It's a bit of a weird one. As for obviously everybody getting back in there, I thought that for me, Jimenez didn't do enough to stop the cross coming in for one.
Yeah.
I thought then obviously Burgos and Juan Fran found themselves massively out of position along with Escassi. And then Manolo Reina.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that. Do you think he could do anything to stop it?
I don't think he could have done anything to stop it, but he could have made it look a hell of a lot more convincing. Why on earth is he stood at his near post?
The thing with Manolo Reina is when you see those situations happen, I already know it's going to end up in a goal.
Because he just loses his head?
No, not because he loses his head, because I don't feel really confident with him.
No, me neither. I watched the highlight before, and I saw it on the TV, and it was glaring. It was like, they've got this much of the net to shoot at here because you're stood on your near post. And I watched it back this afternoon, and it just made me angry. You are a 37-year-old former La Liga goalkeeper who is making an error like that within the first quarter of the match. What's all that about?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. And you know what? When I look at him, we have the same age, and then I think you look so much older than me.
It's a stressful life being a goalkeeper, to be fair. But
But really, I look so young compared to him.
Well, maybe all those years up on Mallorca have taken it out of him a little bit, and you being up in Northern Europe with your healthy Dutch lifestyle, maybe of
very healthy. Look,
we're forgetting we're on a live stream today, aren't we? So
yes,
we can't really pretend to be healthy people, can we?
I put on my Paddington sweater.
I was appreciating the Paddington sweater as well. To be fair, I was going to ask whether there's a story behind it or whether you just really like Paddington.
Bears on sweaters are kind of my thing. So Ralph, I don't know why. Ralph Lauren has a collection with bears. That's where it basically started. Then I found a Dutch artist.
Whoa. Right. Before we came onto this live stream, you were mocking me for buying a new sofa and being on holiday this month. And you're buying Ralph Lauren bear jumpers?
I have one, yes, which was a gift. Then I bought a bear sweater from a Dutch artist. And then I saw Paddington Bear in the Zara last month. So it's Zara. Yes, 30 euros. And I thought, wow, I always like Paddington Bear for some reason. I like it the way he fucks things up, and then it's okay because it's Paddington Bear or something.
Yeah.
And then nobody gets angry, and if people get angry, it's in such a English correct way of correcting him. I don't know why. I think
I'd probably put that down to more of like a posh English way of reacting to him, because I think if he did that kind of antics in Blackpool, he'd be getting
that's what every European or the people in Holland think of English people, that they're also always so polite. In school, we got the example that the English people are so polite that they wait till everybody gets out of the bus before people get into the bus. This is really what they learned me in school, that the British people are very polite.
I'll give you that one, because I was on the tube on Monday, and that's kind of like the rule that this has gone off on a really weird tangent right now, but yeah, you let everybody off the tube first and then everybody gets on, because you've only got like 21 seconds before the door shut or something ridiculous like that. So yeah, and with Holland, that one. Anyway, as for Manolo Reina, absolutely.
In Holland, it's just it's survival of the fittest.
I can imagine that. Imagine there's a lot of bike crashes that way. People just like kicking people off bicycles or into canals.
Yes.
Or tulip fields. I don't know if that's very, xenophobic or something, or stereotyping Holland a lot, but
that's what we do.
Yeah. No, definitely. We've got another comment here from Kay Quinn, who says, Chris, you're like Javi Jimenez drifting way out of position.
I like Javi Jimenez, to be honest.
I like Javi Jimenez.
I don't know. What do people think of, our listeners think of Javi Jimenez? Because I really like him. The only thing I have with him is that his crosses never get somewhere.
They're not the one, are they? But I don't think Juan fans are any better either. And he seems to think he's Beckham when it comes to crossing balls. But anyway, Eibar take a 1-goal lead. Probably against the run of play, dare I say. And then there wasn't really much then happening in the rest of the first half. There was a chance for Eibar almost immediately after they scored. I think it was Stoikov at the back post, but again, some rather lax defending from Malaga. And then there was also a chance for Ruben Castro. So again, funnily, we're talking about all these crosses coming in, but this opportunity for Castro was sort of fed into his feet. He gave himself a couple of yards and he got his shot away, but it was deflected, which made it easy for the keeper to save. But I tell you what, if that deflection wasn't made, I'm almost certain that would have been an equaliser. Is that the way we've got to play with Ruben Castro? We've got to get it into his feet and hope he does something with it.
That's no surprise. That's how most of his goals were scored. Ruben Castro is a striker that you have to give the ball at his feet, but I think that's where our biggest problem is.
Yeah, we're not putting it on a plate for Ruben Castro, really, are we? Which is an absolute crying shame considering what he did at Cartegena last year, and he'll hopefully go there.
Yeah, but
tomorrow night.
I don't really think you can blame Ruben Castro or anything.
No, well, he's not getting the service at all, is he?
Yeah.
Like I say, that was the one opportunity I saw in the first half for him, and he engineered it himself. Don't get me wrong, the pass into him was lovely, but he was surrounded by, dare I say, 2 or 3 Eibar players, and still managed to get his shot away. So I think more of that, less of this. And I think I put it on Twitter in big capitals and full stop saying, stop putting crosses in for Ruben Castro. And then it was just like literally a screen grab of his height. You know, the guy's like my height, and I'm really, really short. I'm not like, you know, there's a really funny picture of me and Alex Ashmore stood next to each other. And it's ridiculous. Me and Ruben Castro are the same height. And if someone was pumping crosses in for me for 90 minutes and I wasn't getting on there and never anything, I wouldn't want to be here. I wouldn't want to play for this team.
I've heard, and I don't know if it's true, that your wife does the grocery shopping because you can't reach the top shelf.
That's harsh. That's mean. My wife does the grocery shopping because she doesn't trust me to buy the right things from the grocery shop. And of course, being the short king that I am, my wife is actually shorter than me. So
Really?
we're a nice little tiny.
You're
couple.
like the little couple. Do you ever seen that series?
Yeah. She's not. She doesn't wear heels when we go out for a meal or anything like that. So yeah, we're not too bad. We're not too bad.
Do they help you?
We'll see how tall you are when we meet each other in Manchester in a couple of weeks' time, Chris. Let's have this out.
Do you sometimes go grocery shopping together?
No.
Oh, because do you have to ask like somebody like, oh sorry, could you pick the mac and cheese for me?
No, we go to Lidl where you can go in the baskets, which are all down low. So we don't actually get a lot of food. We buy like wheelbarrow barrows and wheelbarrow wheels. Sorry, and
that's a shame. You're one of the guys you are people who are afraid to ask other people. So like some things you can't eat just because they're on the top shelf.
Pretty much.
And you really want them.
Pretty much. That little jar at the top of Nutella or something like that.
Yeah.
Other chocolate spreads are available.
We want Nutella, but we never buy it because we can't reach it.
It's too heavy to carry home. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked once again. So second half, to be fair, I thought we were quite good coming out at the start of the second half as well. I think Ndaye had a decent shot from distance. Really tested the goalkeeper. It says here penalty or not to Castro. To be honest, Chris, I didn't see this, so you might have to enlighten us on this one.
Well, there was a moment in the second half where very slowly, just a little bit, first Ruben Castro, I wouldn't see it as foul. I think it should be a penalty. But as you haven't seen it, we can discuss it. I will discuss it with our listeners.
Yes, well, if anyone else saw...
Did you fall asleep?
To be honest, I was watching it on my phone this week because I was out.
Oh, you were in Spain, yeah.
Yeah, so I managed to get it on my feed on my phone, so I was watching it on there. So I didn't see all of it, if I'm being perfectly honest, on that front. But to the most, let us know, listeners, whether you think it was a penalty or.
I think it was.
For me, for the second half, we really lost a lot of what we were doing when Ramon went off. I think he was, again, the creative type in this game. And I think as soon as he went off, we couldn't really make anything happen. We lost all ideas and we were just sort of like long balling it and putting crosses in for Castro that he can't get onto the end of. And
was
it
that
just
the moment Josabet came on the pitch?
Oh, Josabet, I don't know. He just didn't really do anything again, did he? He had that shot from distance, which didn't really change anything. Oh, we've got a visitor as well. How exciting is this on the live stream that we can all of a sudden add Senor Matt Harrison to the live stream. Hello, Matt Harrison.
Hello, Nicholas Bell. How are you doing?
We're all good. We're all good. We're just discussing how crap Hozabed is again.
Oh, that's one of my favourite subjects. I'm glad I've jumped in on this moment. Yes, I can concur. I don't think he's very good. I don't think there's much else to say, is there? I don't.
No, we're saying he had a shot, but he didn't test the goalkeeper. But it was part of the wider conversation in the second half. I thought we started the second half quite well, but when we took Ramon off, we really lost all kind of idea and all kind of creativity, didn't we?
Yeah, I think if, you know, I don't know if you're doing Chumbo and Biznagas, so sorry to jump ahead if you are, but I think if I was doing Biznagas, the only one that I could think to give it to would have been Ramon. Actually, I think Ramon was by a distance the best player. He is the one that was recycling the ball and the only one that seemed to be like passing forward and making something happen. But yes, Hosbed. Yeah, I don't know. Like he's just crap, isn't he?
Yeah, he's absolutely clueless. So anyway, we'll put the talk of Eibar to one side a sec because Cartegena, how are you finding things?
It's great. Obviously, as you can see, I am now by myself, but I was out with our fellow Guiricaster, Alex Ashmore, earlier, and we both agreed it is a really, really cool little city. It's a bit sort of like battered and worn down, but in like a really cool way.
Does it have a nightlife?
Well, it's quite quiet now, to be honest with you. Like I said, like big band go past the road. I think you might be aware, I didn't really have any sleep, so I went back to the hotel. I said to Alex, I said I just need an hour or two, so I'm back out, and Alex is, I think he's gone back to his hotel now.
It's quite quiet with his dad, right?
Yeah, I didn't meet Mr. Ashmore today, but that's something to look forward to tomorrow. I guess the nightlife comes from really that there's these two absolutely humongous cruise ships here. So there's more Americans here than Spanish people from when I've been walking around. So I don't know if everyone's gone back to the cruise ship now, because earlier it was really busy. But yeah, it's a really cool city.
All you need to do is give Alex Ashmore 7-9 minutes and he'll find a pole to dance around.
Definitely.
And he'll be suited for the night.
Yes. Well, maybe if Malaga get a win, I'll make that happen tomorrow. I promise. If Malaga win, I will make Alex Ashmore grind on something tomorrow.
Right, clip it up.
Not me.
Clip it up. Send it to Malaga Club de Football, Chris, for us. And just get Pepe Mel to put this on the screen just before the game. That'd be inspirational.
Well, to be honest with you, if Malaga win, I'm happy to take one for the team. I will let Alex Ashmore grind on me if that means Malaga win. But I'm not sure how he'd feel about that.
We have said that if we win an award, we are going to put the Alex Ashmore pole dancing video on our socials.
Of course.
And I would get a Guiricast too.
Yes.
Definitely.
And classic Alex Ashmore earlier, when we were in the bar, he did say to me, he went, "Oh, I'm not just saying this, but Cartegena does feel a little bit like the Cartegena in Colombia." And I said, "Like, of course you can say that."
Only Alex Ashmore can say this kind of things. Yeah. But, no, it's interesting. We were saying we're very envious of these little Matt Harrison and Alex Ashmore boys away day trips you're having together. Now that this is number 2, so I was looking at flights to Zaragoza earlier for me and Chris to go on.
No, I've just been looking in the bar as well. Because Zaragoza is, I think, been announced for Saturday night, isn't it? Like 9 o'clock. So I might look into that as well. But my next one, I think, is going to be we play Levante during Puente here, so I'm going to try and go to Levante. Is the next one, I think, for me.
I'm going to look flights.
Yes, but I'll be honest, if you offer me Levante or Zaragoza, I would pick Zaragoza. I want to see those massive goal nets.
Yes, that's what I was looking as well. Flight from Stansted to Zaragoza Airport is $12.99. So I am very
Stansted?
tempted
That is
if
good.
you get one.
And
But that's
I've been to Valencia. I've never been to Zaragoza. So yeah, cool.
Let's get
But
it
no,
organised.
I will say to people, if you do get, we're talking about Spanish cities and stuff. Cartagena is really cool. It's not like a huge place, but it's really like nice and cool. And I spent the morning in Murcia. Murcia's not cool and nice. Murcia's shit. I've been
true.
I've been to Murcia a couple of times. It's crap. So I was like, please don't be like Murcia, Cartagena, but Cartagena's cool.
But you're wearing a jacket.
Yeah, well, me and Alex have had this conversation too. He's talking about how hot it is, and I was talking about how cold I am. Because I'm acclimatized now. No, it's okay. It's about 20 degrees. 20 degrees to me now is cold.
I have another question, but it
Okay.
doesn't have to do with Malaga, but it has to do with something else you very much love. The national team of
Wales.
Wales.
Cymru.
Changing the name. What do you think?
Good. Yeah. Perfect. It's not something I'd like a really strong opinion about, and I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But
what do you want if you can choose? Would you
no,
choose
Cymru,
Wales?
definitely. Always Cymru. Yeah. And to be honest with you, it's made me think, like, why do I say Wales all the time? It's like, well, yeah, of course we're Cymru, aren't we? So, no, great. And obviously, I don't know if you guys have seen, like, I remember reading about a couple of years ago now that Cymru actually means, like, sort of, it loosely comes from like comrade and friend and things like that. And Wales has sort of got this, what do you call it, in regards of etymology, is more linked to like foreigner and stuff. So Cymru seems a nicer name, really.
Yeah, it seems weird that the Anglo-Saxons called you foreigners when they were there first, so
Yeah.
Good old English just barshing in there and doing what they do,
Indeed. Right, guys, I just thought I would drop in. Like I said, I've had a bit of a nap. I've had a glass of wine, but I haven't really eaten much, so I'm going to go and eat some.
What do they eat in Cartagena?
Pardon?
What do they eat in Cartagena?
Well, I don't know. I'll tell you.
Local dish? You probably being Matt Harrison and ordering papas bravas again.
Probably, yeah. To be honest with you, when I've walked around, it's the usual tapas menu. Really nice wine. I went in and the guy said, what wine do you want? And I sort of looked at him and he said, do you want the local wine from Murcia? And I said, yeah. And it was exceptional wine, I will say that.
No, sounds perfect. So my two requests are, Matt, firstly, are we getting a Vamos a la away days?
Yes. I was telling Alex earlier that to get this bus journey last night, I drank quite a lot of wine last night to make sure I fell asleep on the bus, and I was listening to a section I recorded for it, which I don't remember recording, but I listened back to it, and it turns out I couldn't say the term Estadio Cartegena. I did 7 takes. I can't. So that won't be published. So I couldn't use that. So I recorded something different this morning. Yeah.
I listened back to the podcast you were in. You invited to. Very nice. I heard my name quite a few times.
Oh yeah. Okay. I can't remember what I haven't listened to it yet. So
there's only one problem. You didn't mention Kevin in the villain section.
In the what?
In the villain section.
Kevin?
Yes.
He's not a villain.
Yeah.
He's a hero.
Okay.
Is he? Well, we know what the answer we're getting to a Vamos a la away days. Can we also get a Vamos Malaga before you go?
No.
Well,
of course you can. Vamos Malaga. Me and Alex were saying earlier, it's funny because obviously we're here now and you make, Spanish away days are not the easiest thing to work out. And we're in the bar earlier and Alex was like, oh, now I'm here, I'm really optimistic. And I was like, me too. I feel excited, and I was like, I feel like we shouldn't feel this way.
Probably not.
It's the hope that kills you, Matt. It's the
It is
hope
the
that
hope
kills you.
that kills you. Right, I'm going to go and have some supper. So enjoy the rest of the recording.
No problem.
Thank you.
Adios,
Enjoy supper.
Senor Harrison. That was nice, wasn't it?
That was nice.
Definitely.
And we had a little guest on our show for a
we
minute.
did. And we might
Yes.
have a big guest later if he decides to show up, but we never know. We'll keep an eye out for it.
You never know with him.
Well, he kindly talked us on to Chumbo and Biznaga there. So Matt's given us his 2 pence worth. So let's move on quickly to them because we have actually got 2 games to preview in the next sort of 30 minutes. So, Chris, your Chumbo for this week.
Josabet?
Josebed, even though it was only a small cameo.
Okay, let's go Escassi.
Escassi, the villain this week.
Yeah.
Cool. I think my Chumbo is going to go to Villalba.
Yeah, he didn't do much either.
He did. I'm going
But I have
to,
to-
I can't be bothered to beep it later. I'm just going to say he did beep all. Disappointing again, really. He's really not showing us what he's about, has he? Compared to others, he just seems lost in the game. But yeah, he's certainly my Chumbo for this week. So, Biznaga, who are you putting your Biznaga for, Chris?
It's a difficult one, but I have to go with Ramon.
Yep, I'd have to agree with you entirely there. So I think that's a clean sweep for Ramon there.
But what do the listeners think? We don't have any
let us know,
Chumbos or Biznagas,
listeners.
right?
Yeah, let us know your Chumbos and Biznagas for this week as well, and we shall put them up on the screen as we go through the rest of this recording. So a mixed bag for Chumbos, but a clear winner for Biznaga with Ramon taking the crown this week. Next, we are going to have a little look at the preview of the game that Matt and Alex are going to tomorrow night against Cartegena. So I am just leaving these little gaps in, by the way, just so when it comes to making the podcast for Buzzsprout later, that it's just easily added in there, and I know where to put all the things.
I think, what are you doing all the time? Are we having a video or something in between? But
yeah, no, I'm not having like a small stroke or something like that. It's just for my own reference later when we cut the edit down. And
we're going to cut it as well.
yes, well, so we can
Okay.
get it up onto the podcast too. Because not only is it a live podcast, but it'll be available to listen on.
You can listen back to us later.
Exactly. So, Cartegena-wise, once again, every week we have our friend Alex Fitzpatrick who sends us his thoughts. He is one of the co-hosts of the Spanish Segunda show. Go and check it out if you haven't just yet. And if you've got a massive love for Segunda football, that is one of the places to go. And he's kindly sent us a couple of previews ahead of the games for the rest of this week.
Malaga travelled to Cartagena midweek, and this would have been a game a few weeks ago that would have spelled huge trouble for Malaga in respect of the run that they were on, which kind of still continues, unfortunately, but in respect of the run that Cartagena were on. However, in the last 5 games, Cartagena have won just once, and the main reason for that is they've stopped putting the ball in the back of the net. Obviously, that's going to get in the way of you winning games. The big danger for them is Pablo de Blasis. Everything goes through him in terms of attacking quality. They'll play with a 4-2-3-1, and de Blasis will play in that 3 just behind the front man, most likely, although he will be getting on the ball all over the pitch and spelling danger for Malaga. In terms of who's going to put the ball in the net for Cartagena, if anyone, it'll either be Sadiku or it'll be Otonio. One of those 2 centre forwards will play, most likely to be Otonio, who's been out injured recently and will probably step back into the limelight. That's Cartagena against Malaga, the midweek fixture.
Thank you, Alex, there for that lovely little preview there, because I don't know about you, Chris, I don't know actually loads about Cartagena, so that is giving me a fair bit of insight there already. So, Chris, how much of an important match is this? It's a weird one. It's on a Thursday night, but where Malaga are in the league at the minute, absolutely rooted to the bottom of the table, how important is it that we need to start picking up points desperately against teams that are out of form, like Cartegena, before we get cut adrift?
Yeah, that's a bit the thing. If we don't get any points in the upcoming matches, the clubs above us there will be a gap between us. So we really need points to stay a bit in the line with the rest.
Well, and that's exactly it. And we can see tonight already there's been a 0-0 draw between Miranda's and Tenerife.
So Miranda has 10 points now.
Yes, so they're 1 point ahead of us. It's Ibiza on 11 points, who are in free fall at the moment. Oviedo in 19th on 13. So even if we beat Cartegena tomorrow night, we still only climb up 2 places and still in the relegation zone. So again, a loss there really puts us at a fair distance behind, because then we'd be 5 points off safety. Yeah, 5 points off safety. Lugo in 18th on 13 points. And then up next from that is Racing Santander on 15. So kind of really getting on it kind of time, isn't it? You know, best way to probably even say it, I can't even describe, but we need to get our bag together, don't we?
We have
and
to
start picking up points.
The first 14 matches were important, but it's now really getting even more important.
No, absolutely. So what do we expect from Cartegena? You know, we've just heard Alex say there that they are in indifferent form. They've had 2 losses, 2 draws, and 1 win in the last 5 games. It sounds as if they're maybe struggling to score at the minute. It seems like the goals that they had at the start of the season have dried up a little bit. There is a former Malaga player potentially leading the line tomorrow night in the form of Sadiku. You know, how much would we like to have a player like Sadiku right now, bearing in mind that he went to Cartegena to replace Ruben Castro?
I've asked myself that question a lot today, and I don't really know, to be honest. Because I like Sadiku because he brought energy, and he I don't know. At Sport Direct we called him the crazy one. He goes like for every ball, and he's very energetic. But then he scored 11 or 12 goals for Malaga when he played for Malaga that season, and a lot of them were from penalties.
A bit Borja Baston-esque, really, isn't it?
Yes. So
in that way,
I don't know.
I know that Cartegena are in indifferent form at the minute, but at home we've really got to expect a test, haven't we? We really got turned over away at Cartegena last season as well. And I'd like to say that we've improved massively since then, but I'd be lying to you if I did. So, you know, if we got to really set up our stall quite solid, do we need to play with maybe more defensive-minded players? What are you thinking, Chris?
I think we should play not very defensive-minded, because we're already having difficulties attacking. So that will mean you will lose creativity up front. And I think that our defense is our best line at the moment.
Yeah, ironically, the thing that was causing us a lot of trouble
last season,
only a few games ago, has really improved that back four, because that's the thing. We're losing games, but we're not being turned over. We're losing games by 1 goal here, 1 goal there. You know,
and by personal mistakes.
Exactly, by errors that we shouldn't be making if we were, you know, playing with confidence. So
there are not many teams that we have played against where I thought, oh, wow, that team really deserved the win.
No, not really. I think the only one I can think of really would be Las Palmas very early on in the season, and they, you know, cut through us like a hot knife through butter.
Andorra.
Yeah, Andorra, but even then we still managed to salvage a draw, didn't we, against a free-flowing side. So again, with Cartegena, I think, you know, at some point and we know Pepe Mel is a bit of a defensive manager. Don't get me wrong; that's his remit, but we've got to let the break off a little bit. And Darius, and this is what I was referring to before, Chris, with Ndaye. He's been a fantastic player when he's played for us. He is strong. He is composed. He just controls the game really, really well. But when you've got him in your side and you've already got 5 defenders in as well, is that too much? Do we not maybe have the creativity that Luis Munoz brings in to that side? Do we lose that when we play Ndaye potentially? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's okay to rest Ndaye for one match to see how it goes with Luis Munoz. If I'm correct, he missed the match against Mirandes as well when we won.
I don't think we had him when we played Mirandes. And then when we played Lugo, he was suspended. And that's the game where, we all said it in the podcast afterwards, where we all felt with that midfield of Febas, Ramon, and Luis Munoz that we were very well balanced. It was, a kind of like the perfect trio at the minute. And don't get me wrong, Lugo aren't, ripping up trees. They're not one of the bigger forces in this league, but they are a team that is difficult to break down on their day. And I thought we really did well to dominate them in large parts, apart from the last 5 minutes when we, tried to throw it away again. So, yeah, I agree with you entirely. I think Luis Munoz has definitely got to start this game in one capacity or another. Whether you drop Ndaye, for me, I'm with you. I would maybe just give him a game off. Just see.
Just to see how it goes, because you have to change things, and that's basically what Pepe Mel said.
So, who would you play alongside Luis Munoz then?
Ramon.
Yeah.
And Febas.
So going back to that trio that we had against Lugo, then, yeah?
Yeah. Because I think those are the players that can get you most passes. Like Kevin says in the comments, he says, we need one off midfield. Oh, we need one off midfield to make some runs past Castro, create some chaos. Luis Munoz can do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think Febas is the only player that can do that. But I don't think he's been doing it a lot recently, unfortunately.
Luis Munoz does this sometimes. He can do that. He can,
and that's the help he needs. I think Ramon does that to an extent as well. So I think that trio would work perfectly. Would you persevere with Ruben Castro? Do you think him going back to his old club might be a good idea, or would you maybe give him a rest for the midweek game and start him again?
No, the way he left, he should play.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were angry at him for leaving. So he definitely should play, because I think normally he probably will give 150%. Now he will give 1,000%.
Yeah.
To show Cartegena.
Even though we only played on Sunday, and, don't get me wrong, I know we're playing a day later than most on the Thursday. And then we've got another game on Sunday with, which I think is something like 11 consecutive days of Segunda football. It's worked out as. Would you not rather maybe start
live the World Cup?
Gijon?
Long live the World Cup.
Well, yes, thank you so much to the mid-season World Cup. But I'd maybe like to see Fran Sol being used a little bit more against a team like Cartegena potentially, or even Laurent Zuniga. I think he needs to have an opportunity to start.
Wouldn't you rather start with Issa Fomba instead of Laurent?
I think Laurent is a more direct player than Issa Fomba. I was really impressed with Issa Fomba, or Issa Fomba Boobies, as he's known on this podcast. When he came on against Eibar, I thought he was the only player who was actually trying to make something happen in those last few minutes. But I think he's still a bit too raw. I think Laurent Zuniga is more of a not finished article, but a more complete player at the minute.
The things I've seen of Laurent, I expected more from him.
I can agree with that as well, to be fair. I think, again, he's maybe suffering from the same thing that, ironically, Castro is suffering from. He's just not getting
could be. Yeah.
the service, is he? But maybe put him in there with that midfield like we discussed, then we could be looking at something that works and hopefully scores us some bloody goals. So K Quinn says one of Christian or Lauren or Fomba to start. So I agree. I think Christian definitely deserves his place in the team.
Oh, Christian was great.
Yeah, what dare I say? Maybe start Gaillard and Christian this time. Maybe drop Hervias to the bench as well.
Yeah, I think that would be a good choice.
That sounds like we've got the makings of a decent 11 going into this game then. So with Matt and Alex being there, they're going to bring us a Vamolos a la away days as well. So you can tune into that on the podcast too after the game. And hopefully we're coming back from Cartegena with 3 points in the bag, because it's a quick turnaround again, because we've got 3 games within a week and we host Sporting Gijon on Sunday at La Rosaleda. So once again, it's just that little gap again, Chris. Remember, we just got to leave that.
I don't know what's happening here. Yeah, there's the gap. Yes,
strokes. So they come thick and fast, these games. So again, we're going to have to preview a second game for the second time this season. We've got midweek games, which are very unusual for the Spanish Segunda. So once again, Alex Fitzpatrick of the Spanish Segunda show has kindly given us this insight on Sporting Gijon.
This weekend, Malaga take on Sporting Gijon in La Rosaleda, and well, it's a good time to be playing them, really. They are not so hot on their travels. They've won just one away game this season. That was away to Ponfe. And their main man, Duca, has stopped scoring, to the point where he actually has dropped out of the team in the last game last weekend, although it is a 3-game match week and he does normally play them all. So it could be that they're just giving him a little rest. The danger man, actually, I would say, for Sporting is their left back, which sounds a very strange thing to say, but Cote, who plays left back, is just head and shoulders for me the best left back in the division. He gets up and down really well and is a real creative outlet for Sporting Gijon. The issue that they've had has been getting the ball in the net. Not many goals coming through the team. They're decent in midfield. But when you're saying that the danger man really for them is their left back, that probably tells the story. Malaga taking on Sporting Gijon this weekend.
Thank you again, Alex Fitzpatrick. And I'll say it one more time for the people at the back. If you do love everything about the Spanish Segunda, go and check out their podcast, The Spanish Segunda Show, on Spotify or wherever you may find or seek or whatever it is your podcast. Where do you listen to your podcast, Chris?
I think hosting a podcast is enough.
Too much work.
Yeah. I sometimes listen to Dutch podcasts on Spotify, though.
Yeah,
it's about bird spotting. It's very fun.
Yeah, I use Spotify too, and I got Patreon for the Spanish football podcast, who, by the way, are sending me my package this week that I won for when we did the stand-up for Ukraine live stream. And it was quite exciting there because he said inside you're going to have a book from Sid Lowe signed and in Spanish. So I've now got to learn how to read Spanish so I can appreciate this wonderful book that Sid Lowe is sending me. And I've also got a book being sent to me on Oviedo. So I texted him back saying, this sounds like you're trying to convince me to become an Oviedo fan, which is looking more and more tempting by the day being a Malaga fan. So, who knows where this little liaison and dalliance might take us, Chris.
Yeah,
anyway,
we make friends. That I think it's still... Of course, we did it for charity and for a good reason. But when I look back at the whole thing, I don't know, it still makes me a bit proud or something.
Oh, so we should be proud. And it's one of the reasons why we should be winning an award in 2 weeks' time.
Matt texted me that, and I found it, I thought, wow. Matt said, don't forget you are the guy who made the how do you call it, the reuniting of the show of of Guillaume Balaguer happen.
Yeah, Revista de la Liga.
Yeah.
You're the guy that made that happen. And
You're the guy that made them, and I thought, wow.
Yeah, 100%. There'll be many people who,
But I
myself
have to say,
included, have really appreciated that.
Guillaume is the best person to live with, to work with. Sorry, to work with.
No, absolutely.
He's such a professional, and he's so kind and so happy to help.
We will get Guillaume Balaguer on the Guiricast before.
He promised us, yes.
He did promise us. So if you're listening, Guillaume, it's time to come through on your promises. Anyway, Sporting Gijon on Saturday at La Rosaleda after this game against Cartegena tomorrow night. 11th in the table. Sounds like the wheels have come off a little bit as well recently. So is this an opportunity for us to get another home win, really box off that hoodoo, make sure that Lugo wasn't a one-off and, pick up again a vital 3 points? I think 6 from 6 is what we've got to be aiming for here, Chris.
Yeah. Although, would you sign for a draw tomorrow?
Would I sign what?
For a draw?
I'd take a draw against Cartegena, away from home. I expect us to beat an out-of-form Sporting Gijon on Sunday.
Yeah. That's the match we should focus on, and should focus on both. But if we have to choose, to look where do we have more opportunities to win, it's going to be Sunday.
Well, that's it. And looking at the statistics for both, Cartegena have had not a bad season. Keeping people out, shutting teams out. So do we maybe keep Ruben Castro fresh so he can, throw him at Sporting Gijon on Sunday? Because, they're a team that have conceded 15 goals so far this season. That's,
Yeah, but I also have to say 5 of them was in one match against Granada.
Oh, so that doesn't really count then, does it?
No.
Against Granada of all things. But still, it's not a great thing to read on. So what have you thought about their season so far, Chris? Because to be fair, they were a team very much like ourselves that couldn't buy a win towards the end of last season. They brought in the new manager, and it seems to be kind of working out for them at the minute.
Yes. Well, we brought in 4 new managers, or 3 new managers, and it's not working out for us. So
at least they seem to be getting something out of their manager as well, who's a bit of a legend at the club too. So again, I think he's going to be afforded the time.
They are on what position are they on the table?
They're 11th at the minute.
Yeah,
so
they're doing way better than we do. Can't really explain why. Maybe they signed better players.
Well, I don't think they have, to be fair. I think Avalado has done a good job because, he's the manager that really galvanized them last time. He took them back up into La Liga when he was last manager here in Segunda. Let's not forget, we always see ourselves as a massive club in this league, but Sporting Gijon are also a huge club at this level as well.
But we shouldn't forget, because that's the thing, right? We see ourselves as a massive club. But if you look at yourself that way and don't look to the reality of now, you're not being really fair. You're a bit in a fantasy world, because Malaga isn't a great club at this moment.
Well, look at it this way, Chris. We are slap bottom, rooted to the foot of this table, and Burgos are top of the league.
Yes, but I saw an interview.
Burgos, wouldn't we?
I saw the press conference with Calero, and that's funny because the coach of Burgos was asked good football, beautiful football, and he said, "Look, what is good football? Good football is not doing twirls with the ball or akka around the world or those kind of things. That's not good football. That's beautiful football or tiki-taka. Mm-hmm. Good football is doing what you have to do to win matches. It doesn't have to look pretty. It doesn't have to look good. As long as you know what you're doing and know what your capabilities are."
No, absolutely.
And
End of the
that's what
day,
he's doing with the team. He
Mm.
says, we are doing what we can do. We know where our limits are, what our limits are. So we don't ask much. Just do what you can do and what you need, what we expect from you.
well, that's the big thing with Burgos as well this year. You know, the proof is in it. They've conceded 3 goals, which were all conceded, as you said, in one game. They've only lost 1 match. You know, don't get me wrong, they've drawn 6, but so have Alaves. And again, you look at the difference between Alaves and Burgos, and you know, worlds apart, aren't they? So there's got to be a formula that Pepe Mel's got to really hit on that, you know, like the Burgoses, like the Las Palmases, you know, just gets Malaga playing again, just gets them doing their jobs right, everyone to themselves, you know, really standing up and counting for it, and then the results will follow. And I think these next 2 games, don't get me wrong, you know, as Matt was saying before, the optimism is there for the Cartegena game. If we lose that, I wouldn't be surprised. If we drew it, I'd be happy. If we won, I'd be ecstatic. But Sporting Gijon, for me, you know, with them only winning twice in the last 5 games, they've lost twice in the last 5 games as well. They're not scoring goals. Duca is out of form. I'd say they're there for the taking. You know, we should be putting all our eggs in that Sporting Gijon basket and really going for a 3 points on Sunday.
Definitely.
So
it's time to turn the page and start over again with our new psychologist.
yes, exactly. And maybe her first job is, do you think it's going to be an effect on the team, the fact that they are playing on a Thursday night and then again on Sunday? You know, this is kind of something that happens a lot with teams that play in the Europa League on a Thursday night. They struggle at the weekend afterwards because that is quite a quick turnaround of games, isn't it?
But everybody will face that struggle, right?
I don't know, because there's some people...
When did Sporting Gijon play?
So Sporting Gijon played... Let me get this up for you. So they play tomorrow, apparently.
So we both... What time do they play?
6 o'clock they play.
So it doesn't really matter, right?
No, so they'll be in the exact same boat as us.
Yes.
In that case. So, yes. And apparently, and again, just for the people, I don't know if anyone's noticed this yet, but I don't know, has the game time changed for this? Because I think Cartagena had it down at 9 o'clock at night. I'm reading it now. It's down as 7 p.m. kickoff.
From what I've heard, it is 7 p.m.
Yeah, so they need to clear that up on there and then. So, dare I ask you, Chris, before we wrap things up, of what has been the first ever Guiricast live recording of a podcast?
We still have some
Predictions for next
chumbos.
game?
We still have some chumbos and biznagas.
Oh, yes,
Kevin
we do.
Quinn. Yes, Kevin Quinn is giving his biznaga to Christian.
Yeah, that is fair enough.
I understand that one. Joey Faint is giving his biznaga to Ndiaye.
Yeah.
I can understand that as well. Kevin Quinn is not a big fan of Javi Jimenez.
Kevin Quinn really hates Javi Jimenez.
Yes. And I think he hates me too, because he's calling me Javi, get back to your position the whole time. He's calling me Javi the whole time.
Well, this is the comment I'm really a fan of here, and it comes from a good friend. Nick Bell, for future Spanish football correspondent for BT Sport. What do you think to that, Chris? Do you think that could happen?
I was thinking, I thought, Nick owns a BMW. Why does this Audi specialist contact him? Or
it's who you know, Chris. It's who you know.
Yes.
Yeah, but
so you have a friend who is an Audi specialist, and you buy a BMW.
I got
given
the
strangest person.
I didn't get to choose the BMW. It sounds like a very first world problem, Chris, but I didn't get to choose it. We'll see what I get to pick next. But as Dave will know, if anyone wants to buy a Range Rover Evoque off me, which is basically brand new, please.
Is it for sale?
It should be. It needs a lot of work doing to it, Chris, between me and you. But that's a conversation for another night.
I hope your wife is not watching.
Oh, she knows. She's aware. She's aware. But yeah, she's out getting her nails done at the minute. So
maybe Dave can fix your. Can help you with the.
Maybe
does he only do Audi?
No, to be fair, he's just done some work on the Range Rover. This is going off on a big tangent now. But yeah, he's just done a fabulous job doing my health check and MOT on the car. Then told me what needs fixing. I had a small heart attack. I then was resuscitated, and then got on with the rest of my day.
So if you have problems with your Range Rovers or with your Audi or with any other car, you probably can go to ADS Automotive Audi Specialist Preston.
Yes. Is this like an official sponsor now? Do we need to get this on our?
Well,
on
he's
our
paying for this.
yeah. In parts.
Yes.
No, that all sounds absolutely fabulous. So anyway, back to Malaga Club de Football. Chris,
Yes.
do I dare ask you for some predictions for the next two games?
Yes. Well, let's say 1-2 tomorrow.
Yeah, 2 Malaga.
Yes. And let's say 2-0 Sunday.
Yeah.
I think we have to stay positive.
I'm going to stay positive, and I think we are going to absolutely shithouse a 1-0 win tomorrow night. Really nasty game, really stick it to them. And then on Sunday, I think we're going to have a game where we really put a team to the sword. I think it's just going to click, and I think we are going to have at least a 2, maybe even 3-0 win at home to Sporting Gijon. So that kind of wraps it up for us, guys. That has been our first Guiricast live podcast recording. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined us. Remember, we are up for a Football Content Award in 2 weeks' time, so we'll keep you abreast of all the information on that. But your hopes and wishes will be very much appreciated. And if we do
doing
win,
a come together.
we are doing a come together, yeah. So if you do fancy coming and having a drink with us the night before, we're going to be in, was it Rinco de Cinco or something like that? Rinco Rafa, or what was it called, Chris?
Rincón de Rafa.
Rincón de Rafa in Manchester. I'm sure we can put up a little post with a postcode on it or something like that. So you can
We have it
find
already.
Yeah, and that'll be at like
we have it with the
7
address.
o'clock or
Everything
something
is
like that.
there.
Yeah.
I don't remember because we also still have to record that week's episode.
Yes, we do. So maybe, like I say, you could come to the second live recording of the Guiricast live. We'll be there for a few drinks. We'll be there for the award show on the Saturday night. Matt and Alex are going to be at the Cartegena game tomorrow night, so keep your eye out for their Twitter feeds, and they're also going to be recording a Vamos a la away days. And then we'll be back next week reviewing both the Cartegena game as well as the Sporting Gijon game on Sunday. And then the week after that, it's the Copa del Rey against is it Deportivo Ibiza or something like that?
Yes, Club Deportivo Ibiza.
Yes, so our first foray into the Copa del Rey and a trip to the Balearics beckons for Pepe Mel's side. So, Chris, thank you once again for joining me this evening. It has been fantastic. Thank you guys for joining in and listening with the live show, or if you're listening to the show afterwards on Spotify, thank you for listening to us once again. Adios and vamos Malaga.